Hey, good morning, good early afternoon. We are going to start right here on time at 11:30. I am going to enable the waiting room to ensure that everybody can just get in as we move into today's webinar. Okay, good morning, and good early afternoon. It is 11:30 and we know how busy you all are. So we always like to start right on time. This is our marketing disclaimer. By being involved in this platform, you are authorizing permission for this to be videotaped and uploaded to use in marketing materials. Additionally, no reproduction or use of this video may be made without prior written consent. Thank you so much for being here this morning for our program, We Protect the Cam, partnering with a pool professional. The team from ProServe Pools has a great presentation in store for you today. So again, thank you for being here to learn. We would love to see where everyone is joining in from and if you're a board member or a CAM. So if you would be so kind, please put that into the chat now. Let us know where you're coming in from and if you are a board member or a CAM. Speaking of chat, if you have any questions during this presentation, I ask that you please have them ready, but to wait until the end to put them into the chat, just so that we can allow the presenters to possibly get through those questions. And as always, we ask that you please mute yourselves. Additionally, I will be sending in the chat an email address at the end of the presentation where you can schedule an on-site assessment for your association with ProServe Pools. It is my honor to introduce ProServe's owners. Please meet Sean and Wendy. After receiving his bachelor's, Sean Lane worked in corporate America for some time. He had worked for Tom with ProServe Pools when he was in high school and decided to get back into the industry, bringing with him the tools and business essentials he learned along the way. His experience in corporations brought best practices to ProServe, and today is a thriving, local community-minded, family-run business for nearly 40 years next year. Please welcome Sean and Wendy Lane with ProServe Pools.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. Welcome everybody to We Protect the Cam. My name is Wendy Lane, and I am the behind the scenes kind of person here at ProServe Pools. I handle vendor relations, human resources, anything it takes to run a successful business. And joining me is my lovely husband, Sean Lane, who is a certified pool contractor, a certified pool operator, and he's got his gas license. Sean loves working with the health department, renovations on commercial properties, and just bringing the pool industry into current stages, new information. We're excited about today. Like Diane said, we have a passion for the pool industry, been doing it for a very long time, love taking care of our swimmers of all shapes and sizes. We hope that at the end of this presentation, you have some good knowledge to ask a pool service provider what they can offer you on your property. We hope to answer any questions that you might have at the end of the presentation, and look forward to any feedback that you would like to share with us along the way. So,
great introduction. Again, my name is Sean Lane. I want to share a little bit about what CAMs have taught us and has shared with us. And here are a few statements over the years that CAMs continue to bring to us. The first one is, we're really not sure if our pool guys know what they're doing. We can't really get answers. We'll ask the same question, we'll get a different response, and we're just not comfortable that we're getting the right answers. We're tired of failing inspections. There's nothing worse than having a pool like what you see on the screen and that pool being closed. It's nerve-wracking for the board, the CAM, and the community. We can't get a call back. We'll call, we've got a cell phone number that we call to communicate with our pool guy, and sometimes there's room to leave a message and sometimes there's not, and then we'll send a text and we get some kind of cryptic response back late at night. When something breaks, we get referred to another third party that we don't know who that is. The trucks aren't lettered. We're not real clear on when we're on the schedule. The communication is a little bit clumsy going back between that third party and our pool guy. We're not even sure when they show up. There's no documentation on it. We're not clear on that. There's no standard operating procedures. The last one, the maintenance one, is when my maintenance guy quits, who's going to be servicing this pool? So there's a sense and a feeling of insecurity, knowing who's going to take care of things when that maintenance guy either retires or leaves or gets disgruntled, whatever those cases are. So these are the challenges that we hear from the CAMs.
Which leads us to what should you be looking for when you're looking for a pool service provider? Taking care of a backyard pool for Mr. and Mrs. Smith is completely different than walking on a property at Marriott and taking care of SeaWorld's commercial grade pool. It's a beast. And if you don't know what you're doing, you can get into the weeds very quickly. The pump room can be very intimidating to just a lay person with a CPO license. Between the filters and the chemical feeders and backwashing and the flow meters and all the things that were required to make sure your pool is operating up to code and efficiently, if you are not trained properly on that, your pool is not going to be operating to the best of its ability. And more importantly, your little swimmers out there could be in jeopardy. Just because your pool is blue is not stating that it's being maintained to the right standards. We like to say that we have a moral responsibility to our customers. We have a lot of kids that are on staff here with our service providers. They have a lot of family members that, we want to send our kids to pools that are clean and that are being maintained. They're not full of black algae and green algae. And how do you know that if the water chemistry is really not being managed correctly? So when you hire a pool service provider, training of their team members, the people that walk on your property, your pool deck, are they looking for safety items that need to be replaced? Are they looking at the grates along the pool? All these little things that as swimmers we don't think about on a day-to-day basis, but your pool service provider should be looking at all those safety items in addition to the pump room, in addition to adding the chemicals to the pool water to make sure it's safe for all your swimmers. And just forward thinking, technology is changing, like Sean said.
Right.
Is your pool service provider staying up with the new technology that's coming on deck? Our industry is changing. We're adapting. We're getting more forward thinking. And along the way, people have to grow and keep up with that technology. So is your pool service provider keeping up with the latest and greatest pumps and heaters? Things that might cost a little more on the front end, but on the long end are going to run better for you, stay working better for you, and cause you less headaches and phone calls from the people that you service. And that's a very important piece when you're looking for someone to partner with. In addition, like Sean said, when you call, do you have someone that answers the phone, or can you walk in the front door and meet a Monique that answers the phone call and can help you find the answer to your question? Are they forward thinking, like I said again, or being proactive and showing with you something that might be getting ready to break on your commercial piece of equipment? Are they calling you ahead of time, or are they being reactive? And now you have a huge problem that your pump is now down, and oh my goodness, the health department is here, and the health department's going to shut you down because your pump's not running. Now what do you do? Are you licensed to get that pump back up and running again? What relationship do you have with the health department to ensure that you get the problem fixed as quickly as possible? Because it happens. Pools are, like I said, they're very tricky. And if you don't know what you're doing and no one's there 100% of the time, pools do go down. But how do you get that pool up and running quickly to ensure the safety of your swimmers and to prevent any future problems? So a lot of stuff goes into looking for a good service provider. The breadth and the depth of the company is very important, and the financial responsibility that company has. Do they have the resources to buy all the chemicals needed for a commercial property? If you have heaters on your property, they need to be maintained to a certain level chemically as well. Otherwise, when now it's finally cold and you go to turn that heater on, it's not going to turn on correctly because the chemistry throughout the entire year hasn't been done correctly. All these little things that you might not think about, because why should you? You're just trying to manage the landscape or the pool person and a million other things that you need to take care of. You need a pool company that has all of that knowledge and breadth of the industry, so they've got your back, that when things do go down or go wrong, that they're there to help you get them back up to speed.
Yeah, great points. So speaking with CAMs, they're concerned with the risk. And any smart person would be. So some of the risk factors in operating a commercial pool is number one, understanding the code. So write down 64-E. So 64-E establishes what the Florida Health Department requires to construct that pool and also to operate that pool once it's been constructed. It's 32 pages, and there's a lot of technical information in there. It's complex. And make sure that the company you hire really understands the 64E and can communicate with the health department, has a relationship with the health department to make sure that when there is a challenge, that it can be resolved quickly. Secondly, sometimes people in our industry really don't know what a CPO, certified pool operator, and the last word operator is important, what they're legally allowed to do and what they're not. So a CPO is a weekend course. You can get that designation at the age of 16. There is no age limit on it. And you can only permitted to clean the pool and test water. You're not permitted, you're not licensed. There is no license for a CPO to make any kind of plumbing or electrical or installation on a commercial property or residential. So make sure that you're clear on that. Warranties can't be filed because they're not licensed to do that work. So just make sure that when you hire somebody that they are licensed for the work that they're doing. A next component of risk that you want to make sure a company is accommodating is make sure that they're staffed properly. Just like when you go to a restaurant during busy season, and you can tell when maybe someone called in sick and they're short-staffed and the wait staff is really struggling, or the kitchen is struggling. Well, the pool industry is the same way, especially during season. So you want to make sure that company overstaffs, just like a restaurant, and that they have extra people when other folks are sick or there's turnover. We've always seen that during the great resignation period that we just went through. Next, speaking of turnover, the maintenance staff. We've seen a shift in the industry a few years back, and that was it was pre-COVID, that properties were moving away from the older traditional having their on-site maintenance staff take care of the pool. They recognized that it is a specialty, and going back to that 64E, that there's 32 pages of information that needs to be documented and followed to keep that pool open. So there was a shift toward outsourcing to the experts, the people that specialize, the specialists in commercial pool care. And so that process went from the maintenance guy over to these pool companies. Next piece is documented water chemistry. That's really important. When the health department shows up, they can tell a lot, and so can we, about that pool log, that maintenance log, that monthly log. And if it's how it's filled out, will tell you a lot about how that technician or that pool guy or that maintenance person is taking care of the pool. So you want to make sure that's documented. You want to look at a company that can document that electronically and store it in the cloud, so that if there's ever a lawsuit, that it can show diligence. Everything's time stamped, when it was done, what the levels were, and that can be provided in any type of lawsuit where every CAM has had this, where you've had a lady walk in and say, hey, my bathing suit has been bleached by your pool. Well, maybe not so much so. Or I smell a high level of chlorine. Those types of accusations. Those are important. So that's how a pool company can reduce the risk. Relationship. Well, for the same reason that a association will hire a CAM to manage that property, our property management company, is because they're looking for a relationship. They're looking for one person to call and communicate with that's going to take care of all of their landscape challenges and goals, their pool goals, tree trimming, and it goes pest on and on and on. So the same thing is true with a CAM. Has told us on and on again about how they want to have one relationship with one company they can trust, and one phone call, and one um, place to store all their warranty information and the history and the life of that pool. So there's really three categories that touch a commercial pool: renovation, so that's construction, new tile, new finish; repairs, that's pumps, filters, salt systems, ORPs, controllers, all of those pieces; and then service, cleaning the tile, vacuuming the pool out. So having it all under one relationship does reduce the risk of who did what when, and having too many cooks in the kitchen. And the next piece about reducing risk is future budgeting. Budgeting of large capital expenses like a renovation, as an example. To do the fiduciary responsibility of a CAM, as you know, you want to make sure that you've got your reserves in order, and that you're communicating with the board, and you want to go have a pool company that can help you navigate all of that, and do it in a very efficient manner.
Thank you. Which leads to, this slide is third-party oversight and expectations, and the history of your account is so important, like Sean said, for future budgeting. Knowing what your pool is going to require. Is it a party pool on the beach that you have a lot of party goers in there all day long and they never get out of the pool, but they're drinking beer nonstop? Or do you have a pool in an HOA that barely gets used? Having the history of seasonality of your pool is very important for future budgeting. Are you going to be burning through heaters because they just go nonstop for whatever reason? Or are you on the beach side, and so you're going to get more erosion from the saltwater air? So having the history and the documentation and the computer software that stores that information for your account is so important when you are looking for a full service pool service provider. That when you call up, you say, well, I think my motor is about to go out, but I don't know what kind of motor I have. And I can tell you exactly what you have because we have that documented here in your customer file. We can pull it right up at our fingertips. Approval processes. How do you go about getting new equipment approved? How do you even start that process? That's something that a good pool service provider is proactive in doing. They go down to the pump room. They see that you're about to be needing a new pump or motor. It's screaming at them. A good service provider is going to send you an estimate with pictures as to why you need a new piece of equipment and the rationality behind that with the price. That then you can take back to your board for approval, or if you approve it yourself, however that process on your end works. And then when the work is done, you get pictures that says, okay, here is the replacement part that was installed, and now here is the invoice, and it's all documented, customized, and computerized. So there's, again, the history for you, for the history of your pool. The pool is the biggest asset on your piece of property, and it requires a very large budget line item to keep up and running. But a pool service provider that is forward thinking and knowledgeable about the industry can help you get ready for those upcoming expenditures. When you're talking and looking for a pool service provider, what extra layers of eyes can they provide you besides the service person coming out to take care of the pool? Do they have a quality assurance manager or a service manager? That person that can come out and do an extra set of eyes just to make sure that the company is doing their due diligence and performing at their peak for you. Or when you call the office and you have a major problem, a little baby, had a little accident in the pool and now the pool is shut down. How does that get resolved? Or is there a breadth and depth of technicians that can come and quickly help you get that situation under control and the pool back up and running, which all of that leads again to the health department. The quality assurance manager, do they work well with the health department? What kind of relationship do they have with vendors? Hayward and Jandy, all these major players that are part of your big pieces of equipment down in the pump room and that you use to run your pump every single day? Does your pool provider have a great relationship with their sales reps and vendors that they can get you the parts when your pumps and motors or something goes down? That's all very key that you don't really think about until something, happens, and now you're more reactionary instead of proactive. Warranty is huge in our business. Equipment, like I mentioned before, is expensive. Everything's expensive. It does come with warranty, but if you don't have the appropriate person installing those warranty items for you from the get-go, your warranty is now null and void. And that can be a really costly mistake that no one wants to see. If you have a piece of equipment that does fall within warranty, though, and it has gone bad for whatever reason, how do you get that piece of equipment back up and running? Who is going to help you with that? Because dealing with the warranty end of things is dry and boring, and nobody likes to do it. But who's going to help you with that process? And if a good pool service provider would be there to help hold your hand and walk you through that process with you. Which leads to communication. We're all in this industry together. We like to say we try to help protect the CAM as best as possible. We love communicating with the people that we do business with our vendors. The pool industry, like I said before, is our passion, and whatever we can do to help make the swimming more enjoyable to our swimmers, be more cost conscious, to make your lives easier on the back end, less phone calls coming in is what we're here for. We are excited about the future. There's good things coming, and ProServe Pools is just growing, and we're getting more knowledgeable each and every day, and we'd love to share that information with you. And hopefully when you see your service provider, your service technician on the pool deck, stop by and say hello. They're friendly people. They like to say hi, and if you have any questions about what's going on with the pool, they're very knowledgeable. We do a lot of training with our people, and your pool service provider, whomever you choose, should be giving those people, the people that work on your pools, a lot of training so that they're knowledgeable to keep you guys safe in the future.
Right on, for sure. I would agree with all that, Wendy. So going back to now communicating with the CAM and the board, what we've learned is if you have standard operating procedures and they're written and they're reviewed and signed off on with our customers, it helps reduce any ambiguity as to who does what and what happens when there's a problem. So that would be something that's real important. Go back to your contractor of record and review that with them. Equipment, in the industry, there a lot of times, almost every time you go out and you get a price for something. Well, it's easy to give a price. I'll take a pump as an example. That's something we all understand. And to get a cheap price, a low price, a fast price on just a replacement of a motor as an example. It takes more diligence and forward thinking to really understand what's the return on investment of an energy efficient pump that doesn't sound, that you don't hear it from the pool deck. So now the swimmers are happier. The board is happier because they're saving upwards of $300 to $400 a month. So that's a return on investment that has a payback period for an operating expense. Lowering the risk again. Make sure that you, as you're communicating to your board of directors, that you can tell them that we can lower our risk by improving the way that we monitor the health of that pool and track and collect that data about it. Is it meeting code, and when it's not, do we get alerts? Those kind of things. That's the technology that's been out for years that's just not been implemented. That can be and should be, and that's some of the things that a great pool company will do for you. Budgets. So all budgets were wrong the last couple of years. We know that. We know that everything went up, and it wasn't the typical 3 to 5%. We all experienced it, and it was an inflationary cycle that we've gone through, and hopefully we're on the tail end of this thing, and things are stabilizing. Some things are. We are getting direction that chlorine is going to continue to rise in price. It doubled in 2 years. So going back to budget, when something doubles, the budget's no good. So work with a pool company that can lock in your cost of chlorine. Chlorine represents somewhere about 40% of the overall total cost of ownership of a commercial pool. And if you can lock that cost in, then you can go back to hopefully keeping a budget, or at least make a great dent in it. Lawsuit prevention. There's some ADA requirements out there. We had it that attorneys will go after, and they'll literally come to your property and look for those ADA non-compliance. And you may have seen on 60 Minutes a few years back. It's the truth. We had a property that had to pay they received a demand letter, and then they ended up paying a cost to that. So go with a company that can help you find those on around your pool. The last one that goes back to that reserves diligence. We work with CAMs sometimes that are newer to a property, just hired on, and they're surprised to find out that the prior company did not have any reserves for some larger capital expenses, like a renovation as an example, or pump and equipment. So make sure that you've done your reserves diligence to protect yourself and your company and your brand. Those are things that a good company will do for you. So with that, we'd like to welcome you anytime to our facility. When you come down, we're located on US 1 in Port Orange. You can walk in. The doors open at 7 a.m. I get here at 6, but we open up to customers at 7 who want to come on in. And Monique gets here at 7, Wendy does, and we close at 3. So you can walk anytime between those hours, Monday through Friday. Come in and take a look at our showroom. Get ahead of any kind of renovation project that you're going to be working on. And we'd love to visit here. Come see our customer service center, and we'll give you a tour of our warehouse where we stock what's required to keep your pool smiling. We'd like to open up to questions at this point.
Hi, Sean. This is Lindsay with Coastal Living Community Associations. I just wanted to ask you a question about the health department. So to me, it's so important for a pool company to have, a good relationship with the health department, just because of nightmare situations that you sometimes deal with. How's your relationship with the health department, and, as far as that goes, to be in contact with them for emergencies and inspections and things?
Well, you're wise and you're right. Life is really made up of relationships, whether it's when you're building a pool and you're having an inspector come out and inspect your work, or the pool's already built. And in the case of, it's under operating at that point, our relationship, I would consider it to be great. I'll give you an instance 2 weeks ago. The truth net reality in this business is every once in a while, especially if you operate 100 commercial pools like we do, you will have a pool that's going to get closed. It's going to happen. So we did have one 2 weeks ago. The inspector called, and we went out and within an hour, corrected the mechanical issue, sent pictures to the inspector. Through trust and relationship, the inspector allowed us to reopen, and that was within an hour of closure. And those are the kind of things that when you have a relationship make a big difference. Last night, as an example, I was going through some code questions with the inspector and sent an email after 5 o'clock, and he's responding back to me at about 6 o'clock last night. So we were able to get some answers that are going to allow us to move forward and get some equipment installed on the property. So I would say we have a great relationship with the inspectors, yes. And we know how they operate. So we know when you manage as many pools as we do, commercial, you can quickly see the trend as to what they're focusing on. And we manage that. So we keep a database as to all inspections, what passed and what failed. We send estimates to our customers. We try to send them ahead of time. Sometimes we don't. We're imperfect. And then when it gets written up on the report, we send it immediately once we get that report. And we work with the property to get the estimate approved and on the schedule. So those are a couple of examples. Does that answer the question?
Yes, sorry, I was muted.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Sure. And we look at the health department as being our ally. We all have customers sometimes that didn't have it in the budget to replace a piece of equipment that is code. And sometimes the health department writes it up, and it forces the honesty and the integrity. And those are the kind of customers that we like to work with, that's willing to do what meets code and what's right, as opposed to what's in the budget.
When you have a pool that's taken care of with the equipment, the safety items, that the water chemistry is being adjusted every single visit to sanitize properly, it's so much easier to keep that pool running than just showing up, throwing in some chlorine, and then you've got headache after headache after headache. Sometimes when we come in and it's a new pool and we do say, listen, there's like 5 things you need to fix just to get up to compliance, it can be a little bit of a shock to some pool properties. But once that pool is up and running, it's just so much easier for you, the person managing the pool, the swimmers in the pool. It's just a better working relationship, more synergistic.
And that leads into a question that I know a few people have had, is what is involved with the on-site assessment?
Sure. There's 4 categories to it. When you look at a commercial pool, water chemistry is really the hidden secret to this business. It is. If it's in order, like Wendy said, that pool is going to run so much smoother. Your heater is going to last so much longer. If you still have an old cast iron pump with a brass impeller, that's going to last longer.
And the pool finish.
Improper pool chemistry voids the warranty on all those items I just said. And you want to make sure that your pool company is managing that. So one of the pieces of the assessment is the water chemistry, and we document that, and we give you upon arrival, and we give you our suggestions. Another piece is the equipment. So in that pump room, there are multiple pieces of equipment, from pumps to vacuum pumps, main circulation, could be blowers, chemical feeders, ORPs, chemical controllers. And so we give you an assessment as to what we see as far as longevity. Plumbing. On the plumbing side, improperly plumbed equipment can greatly cause a reduction in life of that pump motor, causing more amps to draw and a higher electric bill and those kind of things. So we'll give you our assessment on the equipment side too. Tile and finish. So going to a renovation, pool renovation on a commercial pool can start maybe, let's say, $30,000 and upward of $100,000. So you want to know ahead of time to make sure you've got your reserves set aside. And also, is the pool in great shape? Does it have another 5 to 10 years, or is it time for a renovation? And then the last piece, of course, would be service. Does it look like, by looking at the log, will tell you a lot. If you look at that log, it'll tell you how that technician, the diligence they're giving to that pool. So we'll give you our assessment on that. Those are the 4 areas.
I love that. Okay. Any other questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay, I'm going to be putting into the chat information on how to contact ProServe directly for an on-site assessment, also to learn more about their business. And then if you found this webinar something that gave you good insight, we'd love for you to do a review on Google. And thank you, Sean and Wendy. We so appreciate your time and all the education you provided today.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate being here.
Okay, have a good day, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.